My name is Daniel Gomes. I lead Arquivo.pt, that is the Portuguese web archive. It is a service provided by the Foundation for Science and Technology, which is a public governmental body of the Portuguese government. So I began working in web archiving in 2001, and then I did my PhD, and I finished my PhD, which was related to web crawling, web searching, web archiving also, and I finished it in 2007. And then I was invited to start a project to build a web archive. So we gathered a team of computer geeks and we did it. Our organization provides digital research infrastructures. So we provide several kinds of services to the research and academic community, like open access repositories, audiovisual studios so that the researchers can come and record their videos in a professional way. So the initial idea was, well, first of all, nobody else was doing web archiving. So at the time, the Minister of Science, which is unfortunately dead now, he saw a presentation from Bruce Takale. So when he came home to Portugal, he asked who could do this in our country. So my name came up, so we tried to do that. And basically the idea was, we're going to do this for Portugal because nobody else is doing it here. And we want to create a new research infrastructure to be a new service provided to the community and to the public in general. Our focus is the .pt domain. That is what we crawl most in the most comprehensive way. But then we also get user suggestions for content related or interesting to the Portuguese community. So anyone can suggest a website to be archived. And we also have special care, or at least we try to get some research and education content from an international scope, because science actually has no boundaries. So we try to get the best that we can of research and education content, such as websites from, for instance, European research projects. We are glad to get them and preserve them in our web archive. We have the typical Wayback Machine URL search. Then we have full text search. So anyone can do like a Google-like search, but for the past, which is quite useful, and that is what people think when we talk about access or search is something that is Google-like. Anything less than that, the users get very disappointed. It must be really fast, really relevant. So this was one of the challenges that we addressed since the beginning, and we became quite successful to providing that service, at least for our limited scope. Then we have advanced search, so that people can limit their search by phrase or excluding terms. We have image search, so people can look for images. And we have APIs for all this. So if somebody wants to build added value applications, they can do that using our APIs. And it is everything publicly available. We have 4 full-time dedicated staff. We have, we do a little bit of everything. So I lead the project, do the management and dissemination training. Then we have a crawl engineer. We have a developer that also does research, for instance, for the image search, which is a problem that is not at all solved, how to make image search for web archives. Then we have a DevOps engineer. So this is our core. But it's not enough to have a web archiving service running. So to be honest, we have the collaboration of at least 60 people in our organization. And as there are all different kinds of expertise, we help each other and save a lot of time. For instance, the communications office helps us. The guys from the IT, the infrastructures, they help us a lot with the servers, because otherwise we'll be just overloaded by replacing disks. the security team, they warned us, beware with this kind of problem that you may have, and we fix that before the hackers explore it. So it's a very collaborative work. And at this point we have a project, a running project, in the scope of the roadmap for research infrastructures. And we have 4 more people, which is a digital curator, a community manager, a researcher, and we're going to have a web developer. So we've got stronger with this project. Its name is Rocio. It's a Portuguese word for a place. It's a plaza. Everything keeps on changing. So changing is a constant. This looks like a made-up sentence, but that's the reality. We don't take anything for granted, so we keep on changing. So technologically, this is my mindset, our mindset. Like, I'm not a librarian, I'm a web guy. So for us, this change is the normal. So we know this is how it is. We don't stick to standards or formats or workflows. We keep on having an open mind that everything is constantly changing. So this is not surprising. What was surprising, maybe, it's the first time that I'm thinking about it, was how hard it is to sell something for free. So you build a service, and it was quite hard. And you have this really, I think, in my opinion, obviously I'm biased, that is really useful, and then people don't use it. But when you show them to people, they say, this is great, it's going to be really handy. But so the dissemination and the training takes so much effort that I never expect that. That would be so hard to give something for free that is useful and that affects everybody's lives in a positive way. And we don't have the resources to do the dissemination that we would like. So we have like a gold mine and nobody goes there. And this is really frustrating. We have been, well, after we noticed this problem, we have been pushing it to solve it. But it was a surprise for me because in our naive engineer minds, we thought that we were going to do a very interesting service and everybody would start using it. And that's not the reality at all. Everybody must know HTML. It says as a basic skill as writing in our days. So everybody that does know a basic markup language, they cannot understand that for them that is a very foreign language. It's in a bad position in these days. So this should be like teaching elementary school. So obviously that if you don't know that, you cannot understand what you are. Well, you cannot do research on a web archive. You can see some things, but do actual research with a very scientific approach, that will not be possible. And it's easy, like it's easy. If you can have a higher degree education level, for sure you can learn HTML. We don't have formal collaborations, but for instance, we work a lot with Rhizome, with Web Recorder. So we are actually including that in our training program because it's a very nice way to put people to do actual web archiving. I think that's quite easy. And also use like the PyWB, also from Rhizome, which is great. So we were one of the first to try it, and it's part of our core now. We work obviously with the Internet Archive in several ways. We use Eritrix, we are using Browser, we have a backup of our files at the Internet Archive collections. So obviously with the Internet Archive, and with for instance, with oldweb.today from Rhizome, also pretty handy because people all the time ask me, what about the old pages that used to work on the old web browsers? And I say, we're not taking care of that, but oldweb.today will help you. So it's one less headache. And with the Old Dominion University, also with Mike Nelson team, they'll keep on doing very interesting research. We provide data sets, provide the APIs, and then they do this research and find things that we never thought about. We had this kind of results or things about our own web archive. And also the Los Alamos National Laboratory, they did the Memento time travel, which is pretty handy also because we just connected our web archive with the time travel portal. So when we don't have something, we redirect our users to the time travel portal, and then they can find things that are, for instance, at the Internet Archive. And also they have the complete, reconstruct feature. So when one of our pages misses like an image, we just click on the button and then the Memento time travel tries to fix the page with the content from other web archives. Obviously, we also follow very carefully the work from the British Library, the National Archives. They also do some very interesting stuff, the Danish Web Archive. So we try to, and at the national level, we work a lot with the librarians and archivists institutions and university libraries. We try to collaborate with anyone. Yeah, we know many user stories. We don't have quantitative measurement about that because as the service is openly available, we don't have a login, so it's just publicly available. We don't track our users, so we don't have statistics about what they do. But we have the annual awards in which people submit works that they have done using our web archive. So the main conclusion is that they use it for everything. It's everything in every area. It was quite surprising to know the actual works, not something that they said they can do, they did it. All kinds of humanities, biology, computer science, so all kinds of work can be done. So basically, my conclusion was that if I ask someone, what can you do with the web? You can do everything. So we're keeping the memory of the web. So basically, everything that today is the present, some that will be part of the past. So you just shift all the use cases from the present web to the past, and they apply. So it's just having an historical or retrospective, making retrospective analysis, and every use case for the web is applicable to a web archive. But okay, just to give you an example, the last year winner was a project called Conta-me Stories. In English is Tell Me Stories, and I believe that if you type tellmestories.pt, it works. So basically, it generates automatically a narrative about any matter. So you go there, you write the name of someone, like Barack Obama, and it automatically generates a narrative of events about Barack Obama. And then you click, and you are redirected to the news, the web archive news, that originated that event. And it's all done on the fly. So you can try it. And now, well, the project was done for this. They continue to work on that. Fortunately, it was a project from 3 Portuguese universities plus the University of Kyoto. So it's quite interesting, worldwide. They can also combine that with, for instance, the New York Times archive, I think. So they combined it with traditional archives, live web news, web archives. So the importance or the idea is to make added value services. Doesn't matter where the information comes. So if the real user research, the real user needs is, I want to fix this problem. I don't care where the answer comes. I just want to solve it. So this kind of work is very interesting because it combines web archives with the other information sources, and that's how it should be. We should not think about user stories or user cases for web archives. That is very artificial, forced thing. You should think about problems that can be solved also using web archives. It began because, as I said before, it's so hard to sell something for free. So we need dissemination. We need to know what the users do so that you can have testimonials, you can have some stories that people can rely or can feel empathetic, like this guy is an historian, he uses a web archive, so I'm a historian too, so this cannot be so hard, I'm going to do also a work, and you at least try to use it. And also, obviously, our main idea is to penetrate the research and academic community. That is our focus. There are we don't like to use the word clients, but they are our community, okay? So this was this need. We tried many things before: social network campaigns, training. Well, they did okay, but we have to consider the resources that we have, which are very few. Okay, and setting up a contest was not that hard. Like, we can do this. And we convinced our organization to put some money in it. So the first award is 10,000 euro, second is 3,000, and the third one was 2,000. And this is something that has been done in the past for other situations. So once again, even giving this money, we still struggle to pass the message through, so that people know that this exists. In the first last year, in 2018, we had the first edition. So the communication, mass media. So the mass media gave us some attention, but this year, second year, is no longer something new. So it's no longer news. So we don't have that free dissemination. So it's a problem that we must be aware of. With time, we hope to gain momentum, and at a given time, we'll just send it to our normal channels like mailing lists or social networks, and people will start submitting proposals. But that is something that we must think, and this is the main difficulty, is how to make the message pass. Because at this moment, there's a competition for attention that is mind-blowing. Like, we're competing against Coca-Cola. We're competing against Facebook. We're competing about companies that have budgets that are higher than most countries. So how can we compete for our community's attention so that they can see that our award exists, and instead of drinking Coca-Cola or whatever? So it's really hard, and you don't have money to hire these very good marketing companies. So this is something that web archivists, for instance, must be aware of, is that when some of them, they don't have their archives open because they're afraid that they're going to get some attention that may be damaging. What will happen is that when they open, they're going to be so frustrated that nobody cares about them. And that is not my frustration, it's my challenge, my work. So we handle this. So last year we had 27 submissions. This year we have 23, so pretty much the same, plus numbers. The number of quantity is not quality, so we cannot draw any conclusions about this. But we hope to keep on growing in quality and quantity. We have 6 billion files. I don't know how much terabytes, but the main demand is not on storage, it's on memory to provide access. So fast access. And also to make redundancy so that the information can be kept safe. So we have, at this moment, we have 2.6 petabytes of storage capacity and around 14 terabytes of memory. But the pressure is on memory, not on disk. Because you're going to have copies, and then you have to generate the indexes, and the indexes must be kept at least partially on memory, because otherwise the response times will go down. So the pressure is on memory. So sometimes when people talk about how many terabytes do you have, it doesn't matter. Disk is cheap. Memory is expensive. We have been evolving our crawling. So initially we just used Eritrix. We used Eritrix 1 for a long time, then we migrated to Eritrix 3. Now we are also using Browser and Web Recorder to do patching. So for some collections, we do some patching. Like if you have a whole website that is damaged because there's a CSS missing, you can patch it with Web Recorder. It's quite useful. And then for replay, we have PyWB, use PyWB. And then for full text search, a few years ago, we started using nut wax. Then he did a little tuning and another and another and a little tweak. A PhD thesis by my colleague Miguel Costa, and we did basically a new component. So we have, actually our search, full text search is powered by our own software. It's based on Lucene, but it's something different that we did, and it works better than NutsWax. We did the testing, but works a lot better. For image search, we use basically Solar. We plan in the future to migrate from our Lucene NutsWax based search, full text search to Solar, but like we are a running train, so we're going to have to do this in phases. We're not a library. I believe that is one of our main advantages, because we're not stuck to the old models. Like, this is a management fact that if you have something new, you cannot be competing all the time with the old paradigm. So one of our advantages is that we don't have books, we don't have a library. So if we don't do good web archiving, we don't do anything, because we are digital. Like, if we shut down our web archive, there's no books. So basically, our organization provides digital research infrastructures, so we are completely fit in. We provide open access publications in digital format, not on paper. We also manage the paid subscriptions, but online to scientific publications. Audiovisual is not on tapes, is on digital media from the start, from the cameras. So everything is digital in our organization, so this is how we fit, naturally. Like, we don't have to convince anything about the value of web archiving, because the alternative just does not make sense. So we're trying to improve image search, and we like to migrate the full text search component to Solar, because the software that we developed finished developing like in 2010. It still works, so it's quite good. But, well, time degrades, and there are libraries that disappear, and at this moment it has a very high cost of maintenance. So we really must put some effort on migrating to Solar in a way that can be collaboratively maintained, not just by us. So these are two technical challenges that we really must address in the short notice. We also like to make our interfaces responsive, because this also reduces our maintenance costs, because at this moment we have a mobile version and a desktop version. And this looked like a good idea in the beginning, developing, but then maintaining is a headache, sorry. So basically the message is, they like to say, like, it's really quite easy to develop something. The hard part is to keep it running. It's really hard work. So from a technical perspective, this is how we want to go, and probably will not solve this in the following year, maybe in 5 years' time, and disseminate. So we want that everyone in Portugal at least knows our service. And we are very far from that, but that is our target, that we must invest in dissemination. Like, it must be half and half, develop and dissemination. Even if when you don't have anything, you must start disseminating, because that's the way to get resources to do more things. So you're going to have, and this is something that is obviously in the commercial world, you don't start a company without a commercial division. It doesn't make sense. And we forget that on the public administration or on academic context. You must have someone to do the commercial part. We're not selling, so we're not issuing invoices, but we must have users, because if you don't have users, if you don't have if the public does not know us, the public does not fund us. And this is a balance that people should be more aware of since the beginning, that you must invest. Even if you are an IT guy, you must invest a significant part of your time disseminating what you've done, because otherwise you'll not develop. I knew, I expected that I had some ideas about that when I began, but now I'm pretty sure about that. So don't hire a librarian and an IT guy. Hire a librarian, an IT guy, and also someone for dissemination from the start. And this must be the core of your organization. Or if you have the IT guy and the librarian, you put half of their time doing some kind of dissemination, like public presentations, videos on YouTube, going to meetings where potential users or partners be. So this is something that librarians and computer guys are not, by definition, like the most communicative extrovert persons. So we must push ourselves to do that. So blow your own horn, like the Americans say.